Hey, welcome to another episode of Dave's Imaginations. Today we're going to recap our D&D session from last Thursday, February 17th. Dave's Imagination presents Dark Queen Ascension, Adventures in Barovia. Stay with me. Yeah, so last Thursday, February 17th, the previous week we had spent most of the time the group spent figuring out exactly what they wanted to do. And by then at night, they actually came up with something. There was the evening of getting the band back together as Strahd finally caught up with the rest of the crew. And they're sitting around the table discussing what they're going to do next. And that is where we started last week's night of adventuring. They are sitting around in the Blue Water Inn. So here they are. They're sitting in the Blue Water Inn, talking about what they're going to do next. And Esmeralda is there, as is Danica Martikov, the lady owner of the Blue Water Inn. And as they're talking about what they're going to do next, I started to play some bagpipe music, and Danica says, "Uh-oh, that's Strahd. He's coming to town." And Esmeralda hurried and ran off to hide, but everyone else went out to see what the heck was going on. And the crew went and take a peek. Strahd is coming to town, and he pulls up, and one of his henchmen runs in and says, "Oh, there they are!" And the horse and carriage pulls up to the Blue Water Inn, and out walks Strahd to go and talk. He wants to talk to Varinka. Now, you might remember that the town was in preparations. They were putting up decorations. The whole realm is celebrating the eventual wedding of Strahd von Zarovich and his bride to Irina, who is mad and wants to kill Strahd, but what can she do, right? So she plays along, and Strahd introduces her a little bit of a carrot. So shows Irina that her brother is actually the one-handed constable of Vallaki Izek. But there's more. Wait, there's more. Left for dead at the land of old is her one and only father, as Strahd found her father and has recuperated him and has made him his footman, and was driving the horse carriage. And said, "This can all be yours. Your family can be together if you'll just join me." And Strahd says, I would like you to join me for dinner the night before our wedding, to begin preparations, to discuss preparations." And her mouth is dropped, and of course she says yes. And he says, "Well, I'll send my carriage for you. I will find you at your lodge, Albert Lodge." And so that's what will happen. And they have a little more than 24 hours to do whatever they need to do before they go for dinner with Strahd. And dinner with Strahd is a classic trope of this storyline, and we're going to do that very soon. They have 24 hours before that happens, and they have 24 hours to try to complete their individual quests. If we pause this and we look at our individual quests, pause the video there and jump over to the most awesome notes that Christian has taken. This is our individual tasks for the next 24 hours. Ruckus is going to go recruit elves outside of Vallaki. Strider's going to recruit druids at the winery. And Strider's also going to summon the hill druids. Gloin is going to recruit the silver dragon at Argenvostolt. And Gloin is also going to go look for the mad mage and try to heal him and try to recruit him. Olak is going to go buy some quieter armor. I think he recanted on that, as he just needed an hour to make his own. Olak and Ta, though, they were going to go do some recon at Ravenloft via the Abbot portal. And I misunderstood that. I thought they were going to test out the different portal locations, but that is not what they did. They did exactly what they said they were going to do here, in that they would go start to recon Ravenloft. Varinka and Irina did some lady shopping, as they need to get a dress and they need to get their weapons silvered, and so they did some shopping in Vallaki, and then they were all to meet back at the Owlbear Lodge. And then Irina's put in there, "You need something borrowed at the Abbot and turn the Sunsword tinted blue." Yeah, that's just fun, right? So now if we jump back to our video, as I've done the last few times, I've added chapters. So the first chapter here starts at 6 minutes, 40 seconds is the Enter Strahd. And at last, we spent a good 50 minutes on this, as that was a fun role play for me, at least. And it kind of threw in a twist. I don't think they were expecting that, but it gave them some direction. And eventually, when he left, they agreed that they would go to dinner with him, and so he left, and the rest of the group went about their individual tasks. And we started with everyone but Irina and Varinka left town to the west, and once they were out of sight of the guards, they made a break. Gloin turned into his gold dragon and started to fly north for the Mad Mage at the Mount Baratok. The rest of the crew headed south to the Vistani camp. And the Vistani camp, as who went to talk to him? Who went to talk to me? So here we are in the story here, and I think, was it Ruckus? Is he the one that... there's a picture of Casimir. Casimir, who had earlier shown disdain for Strahd because of his sister, and pointed the crew to Amber Temple to learn the secret of how to destroy him. And the group shared that with him, that they did. And there's going to be a big party at the castle, and Casimir knew about that, and so they're going to join him, and showed him with convincing him of their ability to infiltrate and start the uprising. Casimir agreed, and I believe I had them roll to see how many people he'd be able to bring with him to convince to help him. And I think it was 11. He would be able to find 11 able-bodied people to help him in his task. But he said none of it will be able to help you if the drawbridge is not lowered. And so let the team know that, hey, there's going to be a drawbridge, and you're going to have to figure out how to get that lowered if you want any help inside of Ravenloft. And so from there we ended that. We moved on back to Gloin as he's flying north to the Baratok Mountains, and there's a image of Baratok looking over Lake Zarovich as he flew up to the peaks of Mount Baratok, and he eventually found a stag sitting on a cliff edge, and that stag looks over and sees the dragon, turns into a human form, and walks off the cliff into nothingness. And so Leonard did a fantastic job role-playing and trying to recruit the Mad Mage as he walked right where the Mad Mage was and started shouting to him. And the Mad Mage is incensed with people are trying to attack him. That's his motivation. That's his fear. That's it. And he's crazy in his mind. His eyes are all white, and you could just tell he was crazy and lost his mind, and so it was Gloin's job to try to heal him with a greater restoration spell. But the Mad Mage Mordenkainen was not going to go so easily, as he tried to hit the first of all, the ground starts to rumble, and as the ground falls out between him, so I was kind of doing it in trap form. You feel the ground rumble, you have an action, what do you do? And he says, I turn into a dragon and I start flying. And so he did, and he starts to still have this conversation into the air of where Mordenkainen is, and Mordenkainen opens a window out of the sky, and you can see through the window. You can see him standing in the window. Behind him is the interior house, and the rest of it's invisible. And he shouts to him, and they're having this conversation. Eventually, Gloin, as in his dragon form, dive bombs the mage. After getting hit, after he got hit with a lightning bolt, the Gloin dive bombs him and tackles him and casts his greater restoration. It clears up the mage's mind enough, but there's another problem. The mage doesn't have his spellbook or his staff, and he barely survived last time with that. He can't possibly stand to Strahd without those things, and he can't find it in his house, and he believes it to be in the river, maybe, but he won't attack without that. But for clearing his mind, Gloin was given 4 potions of heroism. Those are pretty cool, and that ought to help the group in their battle against Strahd. So that was Gloin. As we move on to Olak and Ta, who made their way to the Abbey, and the Dr. Abbott Stein was there, and he says, go away, I don't want you here. And Olak and Ta weren't having anything to do with that, as they pushed their way through and made their way up the stairs to the teleportation brazier. And as they got to the top, they cast invisibility on each other, and the Abbot's all frustrated. Oh my goodness, now Strahd's gonna be back for sure. And they, Olak and Ta, use the brazier to do the red. And what was red? Red is where the lore is. It was the library, right? That's the library. And so they use the brazier to teleport into the library, and where the library is 2 people waiting for them. There we go. Red, if lore is what you seek. They throw the red gem into the fire, opens a portal into the library, and in the library is sitting a female and a male. And they're talking about, the female seems to be distraught about Strahd getting another wife, and why does he need it? And they're talking about, and they come in through. Eventually, the portal opens. The 2 go over and investigate, and Olak and Ta pass their stealth checks. And eventually the female goes back to the table and starts reading. The male leaves to the south, and the Olak and Ta follow him and almost get caught because Ta made it out with any problem, but Olak, the door kind of creaked on him or something, and the gentleman came back to close the door on him, separating the 2 briefly. But they did open the door again quietly and snuck into the next room. And let's see if we can catch up here as we go into the next room. There's Olak and Ta. Stepping forward, and they go to the next room to the south, and it's some sort of dining room. And they come in and follow them, and they go to the next room eventually, and they look in the room. They see dark figures to the alcoves to the north and south, and they decide to go through anyway. And I think that's in the next section, though, as we went back to the blacksmith shop, and we resolved Varinka and Irina talking to the blacksmith. I kind of like this picture of the blacksmith in his shop, and negotiated with him for a bag of gold. He would do his best. He would silver as many weapons as he could, and so he took half the gold now and half the gold when they return, and the next day he's going to do as much as he can in 24 hours. Meanwhile, while he's doing on that, Irina and Varinka went to the burgomaster's house and were getting some help getting a dress. So sorry, Noel, you didn't have much of that last week. But then we move on to our encounter at the winery. Ruckus and Strider go back to the winery. Now, we might remember that Ruckus is been offered ownership of the winery if he just tracks down and hunts and puts the head on spikes of the Mardikovs, the treacherous Mardikov traitors to the realm. And he's in process of doing that. But until he finishes that quest, the winery is in current possession by the Druids. The Druids, which are under will pledge allegiance to, will fall fealty to Strider, who's wearing the cape of Sangzor, as well as the staff of Kavan and the goats of wondrous power. And after he shows that to Impinduka, Impinduka agrees to follow him and agrees to lead him to the other druids of the realm. Strider is negotiating with Impinduka. Impinduka agrees to follow him and agrees to lead him to the other druids. Juniper, which is in the northwest, and Freyalise, that is in the far east. And then I had them roll for the number of druids that would fall under them. They rolled, it was 10 plus a d20. Or was it 10? I think it was 10 plus d10 for Juniper, which she had 14 druids under her tribe. And Freyalise, who has a much larger territory, she had 10 plus a d20, and then he rolls like a 1. So I let him use his inspiration to reroll that, and he came up with a natural 20. So she has 30 druids under her rule, and so that should be really helpful. And then from there we jump back to, so we just did Druids of Winery. As we go back to the library, as Olak and Ta open the door and they get in there, and I tell them it's time to roll initiative as those dark figures were covered in rats. And actually it was supposed to be 4 swarms of rats. I rolled initiative. They both got initiative ahead of the rats, and they chose to dash right through. They dashed right through and closed the door behind them. And that is where we ended them. So then we went back to Gloin, who flew down back from the Mount Baratak as his gold dragon flew to Argon Volstolt to recruit the Silver Dragon. And he found the Silver Dragon, and the Silver Dragon was like he will go fly around the castle in Reconnaissance and think about it, but he'd rather do that at night. But until then, perhaps he would help. Gloin would help the Silver Dragon with dispensing or taking care of the mama of all spiders. This huge spider, the spider as big as a house. And Gloin, with a twinkle in his eye, says, "Of course I'll help." And again, we have to say another chance of Gloin doing fantastic role, or Leonard doing fantastic role play. And so we have set up for next week. We have set up for next week a couple of things that we know are going to happen. We know are going to happen is Olak and Tal are going to continue to investigate this castle they're in. They would hope it's Ravenloft. You would assume it's Ravenloft, but there's no one saying it is. Maybe it is. Suppose it is. And also, so we know that's going to happen. And at the same time, we know that we have Gloin and the Silver Dragon are going to go attack the big spider. And so with that is where we left off last Thursday. And so what will happen? All right. So what will happen next week? And I asked the other people that weren't engaged what they might like to do. And so we will have to figure out something for them. And that's how we ended last week. So thanks for checking in. I hope you'll join us Thursday. Otherwise, take care.